And we are live.
We're here. It's going to take a couple minutes, but that's normal.
Oh, it's on. It's going. It's going right now. We're here. We
And
are
then
here.
people start coming in. And as that starts going. So, how was your weekend?
It was very busy, and busy. And
And
Sierra
there's,
wants to tell me about her weekend.
there she is. I know mine's upstairs. So, I handled everything before beginning, but he may still bark.
Well, she's just been she had her hot girl summer this week, so she was out and having a good time and just really just living her best life this past week. So she was reverse engineered in a period of days, which is great. So now I'm picking up all the pieces. It's almost like going to grandparents' house. It's like for your kids.
How did you do like that whole transition, like getting her back now? Obviously, that was exciting.
I don't even know. We'll see. It's still going. It's this is now this is a project. It's going to be, but she likes it both ways. She likes being really lazy, as in Sierra, but sometimes she likes to be very energetic and be out there, but the other time she just likes to chill and watch TV. But we'll see.
Cody's
How
just
about you?
24/7 hype. Cody's just 24/7 hype. There's
Yeah.
no chill time. There's no downtime. So Angelina just got home last night. It's just been chill weekend, low key. Just
That's
building
awesome.
ideas.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of them. We have 17 pages worth of notes on intellectual property. So
I just really need to know like how to legally protect some things we discuss. I mean, it's become an issue apparently.
no, I get it. I mean, in my past life, I was used to having to sign a non-disclosure agreement before getting into any conversations with anybody. And, now people go onto platforms like LinkedIn and they have these conversations and they want to talk about all these big ideas that they have in their head. And what they're not safeguarding themselves, they're just out there discussing them all openly and thinking that they're going to retain ownership of them. And most likely they're not going to, because there's going to be someone that's at a different stage, or they could have more capital that they're able to just move a lot quicker than have to go to a funding stage. And, or they may just have the right networks and then the network may be able to push them forward. So
That
yeah,
part.
it's been an interesting ride.
That part. It was definitely reading into these copyrights and the trade secrets. That was a lot. I was just like, oh, interesting. Like how is
Yeah.
this not more common knowledge? I would think. And then second thought was like, how are people not educating themselves about this?
I'm not sure. I mean, like from when I was like 19 or 20 years old, I was acquiring like trade names in different states for things I was going to do. So I can go out there and if you didn't want to have a corporation, you have to have a trade name, and that protects you and allows you to do business in that fashion. But some people, they're just, everyone's green, right? We all start at some point, right? And then we're learning and we're learning and learning. But other people are feeling as if since they heard something that was really cool in a conversation, that they can just go out and go and do it. And that's
And
it. And they don't really do any research. There's no planning. There's no business plan. There's no not looking into any funding that that they would need. And yeah, it's something interesting, but it's like, how do we move forward? And that's what this conversation is about right now. It's like, how do we actually get past the point where we're at, where excuse me, there's so many people that are coming up with amazing ideas, but we want to ensure that we're mitigating them any levels of stress that they might have in the future based upon someone coming along and stealing some of their IP.
Right. I think like the first thing that should even be discussed is probably etiquette.
What is IP? How about what is?
Well, how about the etiquette of just knowing what it is and
Yeah.
knowing, like that's part of like the etiquette.
Yeah.
Like you even know what you're taking from somebody. I mean, and I think a lot of people, I don't think that they necessarily even understand the depths that go into some of the ideas that they may be borrowing. I mean, like, basically, I'll read it right here. Like, intellectual property refers to creations of the mind that are legally recognized and protected. This includes inventions, literary and artistic work, designs, symbols, names, and images used in commerce. The purpose of the intellectual law is to encourage innovation and creativity by giving creators and inventors certain exclusive rights to their work. That's the definition. That's what it is. But
Thank
then,
you.
Obviously we got patents and we got copyrights and we got trademarks and trade secrets. So then that's when I became
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah. And the issue is that before any of that is filed, then it's just based upon there's many ways. There's like the poor man's trademark is when people are mailing a trademark or they're mailing something across a state line in an envelope, and there's a couple different ways that you can do it, but it's not really considered as a trademark. But how do we get to that point where people understand, even just having that proper, like you mentioned, etiquette, and they're not just trying to come in and say, yes, I love your idea and I'm going to one up you a little bit later on tonight on my call. I mean, how do we get past that? I mean, I know a lot of that. Just like, what would you want? Like, okay, let's just say we're having a call right now, and then someone that's on our call and they're listening, they're like, this is a great idea. This kind of aligns with something I'm doing right now. What do you think the next step should be?
Well, I can only answer for myself. So I don't want anybody to take this anyway. This is me. I personally know that I have went into maybe an event or something or seen something, and I'm like, I felt like that was mine, right? Knowing the situation, I think I would like prefer that private conversation before being exposed to seeing it or hearing it. And just that heads up, number one, like, hey, we were talking or you were doing this and I seen this and I loved it. And I just wanted to make sure you was okay. Like, do you mind if I use it? Maybe edit it for myself. Like, for me, that basic conversation would be great. You're either going to get a yes or a no. Me, 9 times out of 10, it's a yes. Like, I don't care. But second, like, give credit where credit's due. Like, for me, I don't want notoriety, but I also don't want someone thinking that another person's amazingness was what they did on their own. Like, I did, like, if somebody helped me get there, I'm acknowledging that. And I want that person to be acknowledged. So, like, don't try to mislead the public that's getting what you're delivering into thinking you originated that. Like, for me, it's transparent, honest communication before using it.
I agree. And it's tough when you're looking in your feed and all of a sudden you see a room that's going to have the same title as a video that you just made or a conversation that you just had earlier in the day with a live event. So, it's like, if the particular parties are out there and they need help with creating ideas. Yeah. Go to that person and say, hey, listen, I really liked where you're at. Would you mind if I utilized it? Or maybe could you be a guest on my show? And not just try to take it as if, like, I did it all, like this is me. Yeah.
I think it's like, so this is where we fall backward. People try to tell me that I have it backwards, saying that I respect people before I trust people. But, like, I'm going to give you the respect to think you will do this, but I'm not going to trust you until I've seen you do this. Does that make sense? Like, for me, it's backwards. I can't trust them to do it and just they'll earn my respect. I'm so the opposite.
Well, there's implied trust that people get based upon their titles, based upon the groups that they're in, the schools that they went to, or whatever it may be. It could even be a political affiliation, but people are receiving that. And then again, there's that other layer that it's like you want people to prove it to you. You want to see it through their actions that you could trust them instead of just implying that you're going to trust them.
Right. And I think for me, it gets more personal because it's like I lost everything and I build everybody else up. So for me, I think it's more kind of like a personal silent jab. Like I'm building you up, but I don't feel like you're building me up. And then to see you take what I'm doing to try to build myself and then see somebody else do it. Like for me, that's, I think it's almost like a double slap.
And, you know, it's different. So like if you're an entrepreneur, you're outside, it's a whole different world. But when you're in the corporate environment, that happens all day long with like your superiors. And as it goes up the chain, as you're coming up with these ideas or you're coming up with methodologies that are going to just solve a lot of issues they're going through, it may never come back down to you that you actually created it, because at some point or another, your name is going to be taken out of it. It's going to say, I did this, I did that. Yeah. I mean, we've all been there before. I mean, and I don't think that's ever going to change, because there's always going to be those people that need that to take that recognition from you or to take that power, that so they can be all high and mighty. But that'd be interesting to discuss about how could we protect ourselves even in a corporate environment when we're coming up with these ideas. And, you know, methods that I've had in the past were when I came up with bigger ideas that I would CC, you know, a couple people, and it could be the person I'm reporting to, the person they're reporting to, and another person outside of that particular area too. So that way, when it came back around, that they understood exactly where the idea came from, and that way that everyone's on the same page. Because typically I saw that I was nowhere in any of the communication as the email streams went along. I was left out of that. So it's like, okay, well, that's interesting. We'll just forget for that Keith actually started this. Sierra wants to talk about that. She's really upset. So we need to make sure she talks about this one. But you know, it's about safeguarding yourself all the time, you know, when it goes into that environment.
I think that one example, how you're saying the corporate, that I'm seeing some things is you heard a recording before. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave that one pretty vague. And that recording withheld me in an emotional state, obviously inadvertently disclosing ideas and things, right? Mm-hmm. Then you recently seen a screenshot. So now I know that what was said within that meeting is being used as in, you know, like, but it's one of those situations that I'm like, I don't know if I'm mad. I know I'm never going to get credit for it. I know it's a massive multi-million-dollar corporation doing it, but then I don't know. Like, but I am actually, like, today and yesterday, I was like reading it and I'm like, these are all my ideas. And I don't know how to feel about it, but in a sense, it's like, well, good, because something's going to come out of it positive. But then it's like, y'all are really about to take the credit for something that y'all had no part in until that meeting.
Well, I think when it comes to times like that, it's like we have to think about, first of all, sitting back and just being happy that it occurred, right? Just being grateful that something positive work is happening. And at some point, it becomes more about the unity and mission, whatever the mission is, instead of the actual brand that's raising their flag out and saying, look at me, that it was done. Of course, the recognition is great. However, when it comes to things that are more of community centric focus, it's like, great, it occurred. Wonderful. Let's move on. We understand who you are, what we can tell you in the future. We know how to treat you, and then keep it moving.
I think I
But
really
when it
just gave that example for that personal
yeah,
reflective and the
yeah,
professional one. So like personal, I really, really care.
yeah,
Professional, I try to evaluate where's the benefit and the reward coming from. Professionally, it doesn't matter if I'm recognized or not. It doesn't matter, but that personal, it does.
yeah. I mean, we all need that. That's something that you're doing great. I'm proud of you, or whatever that affirmation box like they had in like MTV Pimp My Rides. They actually had someone, I remember they built it in there one time that they said some great stuff about them. You're great today. Have a wonderful day. Like,
I
you're
love that
doing it.
show.
But we all need that at times, right? To just lift us
Mhm.
up and to fill our cup back up again. And I think it also goes back to for us to understand that we can control only so much. There's things we can control, and there's also a reason why there are these different laws that have been created that could help us in moving along in our journey. But there's only so much we can control as humans. But with the laws that are out there, of course, you had mentioned the patents, the trademarks, the copyrights, um, all important things that you should do and you should look into even prior to starting a business. First of all, you need to make sure you do have the proper business planning. It's not just like, I'm going to have a business. Um, your business most likely isn't a business. It's typically a hobby in the beginning until you start earning money from it, and then it's a business. But making sure you go through the proper planning stages, making sure you do a SWOT analysis so you can understand what you're trying to do, what's going to make your business different, your strengths, your weaknesses, and how you're going to compete with any of the local people in your area or across the country or internationally that you're going to be going against. There's a lot of work that you have to do. So it's not just coming up there saying, I attended someone's meeting, I really like what they did, I'm going to do the same thing.
I can do
That's
it too.
probably not going to work. You missed a lot of steps. So you should probably start from square one.
I think a lot of people
Form-
don't even realize the amount of time, like before they heard you, like I don't think they even know like the months or years of work before that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting to me because I always say, like, you hear about this in songs, or like, I know Dr. CJ, she has the level up, but there's levels in this, right? It's not just about you just one day saying, I'm going to go from the started from the bottom, now we hear, even everyone's they sing about this, right? So,
Now I'm at the top.
and it doesn't happen in one day. It's not just like you're going to purchase connections, you're going to be a connection collector, or you're going to go across the world and you're going to connect with random people by joining in all these diverse topics and asking people to follow you, and so you can build some clout. It doesn't work that way, and you're not going to be able to monetize that effectively. Maybe for a little bit of time, but you're gonna wear off. I mean, like, it's almost like that Hawk Tuah girl, right? So she made $1 million, or more than $1 million, made all this other money, and people they're over it. They're over her. It's like she had her 15 minutes of fame, and then it's like, all right, well, you could do whatever you're doing. Thank you for helping out with donations and any of the volunteer work you're doing for organizations. But everyone has their time, and people will come to the realization that you just are not at the level you should be at to provide that advice. So what gets me is that when people do not follow the particular path that they should, all of a sudden they're gaining followers, and these followers are like living, and they're like going to follow them through everything that they're doing, and they're giving them advice that's not going to help move them up, and it may help like only just put them into a bad place based upon, and not like there's ill will involved, but it's like just because they don't know. The people that are hosting rooms, they just may not know, or the people that are acting as subject matter experts, they may just not know the right information. They're not aligned with organizations that are outside of like any of these other groups that they're in LinkedIn, that, and who's rating them? Who's rating any of the actual groups out there to say that they're doing something that should really be followed, right? So I would always tell everyone to find yourself, like when you're going to start a business, to go find an organization that's accredited and to work with them. And you should not have to pay money initially for a business coach. Go find some free mentoring that's out there, link on to a free organization, and learn more about that. And once you get to the point that you're ready to go move forward, then find yourself a coach that you're going to spend money on, right? But you need to make sure that you have the money to start the business and to keep the money going. So would you like to go into, Michelle, into reading off some of the information on some background information on IP? To letting
and if anybody wants to follow along on my LinkedIn are these documents. Like the first one that we went into was the patent law, and that, you know, between everything I did, obviously I try to like look at it here nationally, but I also want to know worldwide.
Well, speaking of worldwide,
there's like the contrast of
speaking worldwide, I'm actually going to be adding a few members into the back area of our stage right now. So one of them's from worldwide, Mr. Ole.
Okay.
But go on, just letting you know. You said worldwide, so
with the patent law, the United States Patent and Trademark Office is the federal agency that is responsible for granting patents and registering trademarks within the United States. You can do utility patents, design patents, or plant patents. I think the one with us that really like resonated was the design patents, because that's like new, you know, original, like these are what we're articles, like what we're doing to we can manufacture our article, anything, like, you know. I think design, you know, patent is really important for what we create as far as content. And it'll go on to tell you like how to file, you know, in the US, and then what you have to do to be eligible. Like an invention to be patentable must be novel, non-obvious, and useful. Like, what's non-obvious? Like, you know what I mean? Like in my mind, it's kind of like if you made something new and you need to trademark it and patent it, like wouldn't it already be non-obvious? I don't know. And then, you know, it's like the process. But then when you get down to international, I really like kind of thought that was interesting. The dynamics and how even just a slight word, like it's so different versus what is recognized here nationally. But internationally is the World Intellectual Property Organization. And they just, like, from what I'm learning, like they're almost kind of like the, you know, like internationally they're trying, like they have a framework that it doesn't matter what country you're going to put it in, it works. Like legally binding, it meets criteria, it, you know. So I've been really like I did not know about this place earlier, so I don't want to talk a lot about it till I actually educate myself way more on who they are. But they give more unified procedures from what I'm learning. Like they're more to the point and structured about it being universally accepted. And Paris, they established something in like 1883. I didn't know about that. So learning about that as far as the patents, that was great too. So what do you know about patents?
About Paris? I mean, Oli, what do you know? What do you know? Like, oh, patents? I thought you said Paris. I'm like,
well, well, can you hear me well? I'm not sure.
Yes, we can hear you. Yep. So have you ever been involved with patents before, Oli?
Well, no, it's quite new for me. But first, Paris is not my city. I'm living in Brussels. But I've been 2 times in Paris in the past. Even I would say 3 times, but it doesn't count. I was waiting the bus for going elsewhere in South France. But Going back to intellectual property, I was thinking lately, I don't know if you were aware, but even Trump is putting his feet on top of the intellectual property carpet, because there have been artists that say, no, you don't have the right to use my songs in your shows. So like from ABBA, from Taylor Swift, from many other artists, because Trump uses their songs without their consent. So even if as you see Trump doing that, it's really it's crazy. You know, the one that is running for being for a candidature for being a president, smashing his feet on the carpet of intellectual property. That's crazy. So I think the most important is to be aware that even someone that we know is not paying respect for intellectual property. So that in my way that's crazy. And we can talk about many aspects. There is the music, the cinema, the documentary, the IDs. And by the way, if you have an ID, trademark it, because if you don't have a trademark it, an ID cannot be protected. I always learned during my IT and data science bachelor is that it's only when you are proving that this ID is made in action with a document, with a whatever. But an ID that is in your head could be in any place without being able to be protected. So it's
Yep.
really to trademark your ID, your name or whatever. Because for me, for instance, I love to play with words, and I will not be mad if my chocolate pun is used by someone else, because it's mine, of course. But it could be anyone first. Maybe someone used that before, but also if it's brighten the world is amazing. It's only if I have thousands and thousands and dollars invested on that, that will be crazy for me. But the puns, I don't invest anything on puns yet. Probably I'm going to brand new coffee mugs like chocolate, where you drop hot chocolate and you see the cup changing colors. So who knows? It will take time, but it will be chocolate to these mugs to change shape. So what are your thoughts? Because we can talk also about any industry, in fact, not only about music or
Yeah.
cinema, but also about books. Books, it's really important.
No, I believe, and I remember I don't really watch the news that much for many reasons, but I remember hearing about Beyonce was upset about some of her music being used too as well. That's the one thing that I heard, and I as you mentioned, yeah, many stars have come forward to say the same exact thing. And again, when there's people that are in power of these roles, they need to understand exactly how that impacts other people. And like, if you look at like all the way back in the day, if we go back to the days of Napster, right? When who was like the number one person that was against all of this, which was like Metallica, which was the Beatles. And they were really going crazy they were making sure that they were protected, right? So Metallica, the Beatles, and then if you look at even, like Pearl Jam that wanted to go, they wanted to get away from Ticketmaster and doing everything else. Like there's many artists like that really take a lot of control over their rights. But yeah, it's scary because you're creating something at one point in time, and that's the livelihood, right? If you're not going to continuously create music, you're making money off of the stuff that you did in the past. So by other people utilizing your information, by people, even
Well,
if you're
back in the
like,
days, back in the days, my parents had a life where it was not even possible to copy. I was realizing it was like the only thing that I remember is to copy cassettes, audio tapes, and it was like my way to discover music. But then the other way was listening to radio, or buying CDs, or even vinyls, the old times of the old ways. So I think right now it's easy, to, okay, we click on YouTube videos and then we have the song and we don't have to go to purchase it. We can go directly to YouTube. And of course, YouTube is paying. But I think the most important is to realize that it could be scary, of course, but I aim more to see, okay, what is in my control? What could I do? Because if we are in the scary mode, we are frozen and we cannot react. We are also with defeat, and it's to live with the time. In the future, there will be things that will be possible, and these kind of possibilities will make us scary, because then it means that imagine the teleportation. We see that on a lot of movies. But teleportation is like, okay, let me go to Fort Knox, teleport myself, and then rob 2 or 3 kilograms of gold. But at the same time, in each time, it's an unending battle. It reminds me, since the 90s, even now, the battle between the antivirus and the creators of virus. There's always
Yeah.
like, okay, go and try to reach, and then to always be behind and to regulate. So it will be the same with flying cars. I think it's scary because we never know. We have seen that until now in Back to the Future or in the Fifth Element, and we don't see that on real life. But when we are going to see it, we are going to be in adapt mode, to adapt to that and to have new regulations about the road, which will be not road but path, because now there will be no more road anymore in the sky. So that's my hi Cyrus, welcome. So what are your impressions, Michel? Thank you so much.
You got the post all the way over there, I think. That's funny. So what I was just going to add quickly is, like, you just made me think about I think it was back in 2000 and something. I was on as a guest, or as a on MSNBC Live, when the White House's website was hacked. It was called the Code Red Worm. It was hacked by Chinese. That's what it said. And so I was on as one of the experts, and since I had an IT company at that time, and years later, I was in Alexandria, Virginia, or Old Town, and I met this person that was going to be a client for a new business, and he had some really cool, like, Lamborghini outside, and he's like, yeah, I'm interested in getting a share group where we would all share it and take it out week by week. Would you be interested? And I was like, that's really cool. And then I spoke to him about himself, and he was one of the people that was actually flipped by the government that was in on that whole entire part of, like, doing that. And it's interesting how, like you had mentioned, that's like at one point there's people that are doing something wrong, and then all of a sudden then there's a business or there's something else that comes out of that when they're flipped into working for other organizations or agencies to help prevent that in the future. So it always starts somewhere, right? There could have been people that got in trouble for it, and all of a sudden now they have a virus company. It's because they created the viruses initially to get the business. Or you look at some of these stories where these old school movies where they have a glass company and the child knows the father needs money, and he's going out there and he's breaking windows in the area. And then it's all of a sudden the father has business because it's supply and demand. He's making that actual demand itself. So sometimes things happen like that too as well. It's either we actually just make it occur. Like when we know that we need it, we can actually force somebody's hand to make it happen. But again, like you had mentioned, when an idea is in our head and we just say it, it's an idea that somebody else could have too as well. It's not like we're the only one that has that idea in the whole entire world. Not unless it's something truly just like all the way out there. But typically there's someone else somewhere in the world that's had that before. They may not have just brought it forward and put it in paper. So we need to make sure we are taking the proper steps and just protecting ourselves prior to just letting everybody know about the next best thing that we think is going to occur. Thank you for adding that. I appreciate it.
I
And I
agree.
think what
No, and I
what's
agree. And also, like, based on what you said,
I was just going to
okay.
add what Cyrus. I just wanted to read what Cyrus had said before, which was a lot. So it's a lot. It was taking over Ole's whole entire face, like in screen. But you put that working with the right coach is very important. More importantly, one must be coachable. I believe working with a paid or unpaid coach is a matter of choice. That being said, we need to remember coaching service is free for a reason. Find out why the service is free before you commit to working with a free coach in question. Well, what I was saying, Cyrus, with that is I actually volunteer with an organization that's sponsored by the SBA. So it's free for the reason that they're going to get them onto the right path so they could actually have a successful business that's going to have all the proper steps that are in place. So when they're going to go for funding in the future, that they're going to be able to achieve it. But yes, a lot of times if you're going through someone that's not with an organization and they're offering something for free, there could be ulterior motives there. And I agree with you. So back to you, Michelle. Sorry about that.
Michelle is frozen.
I know. Michelle, come back into the light.
I agree with what I was saying. I didn't learn until am I there? Is it still frozen?
You may have to shut your camera off.
Frozen?
Yeah, you need to probably shut your camera off, Michelle.
Right. I might need to reboot.
That's a little better.
How is that?
It's
I was
better.
gonna say that I recently learned. Okay. I was gonna say that I have recently learned that sometimes an example like Tylenol, they knew that there could be potential harm to fetuses. So how we're just now seeing all these lawsuits, they knew it would happen long time ago and financially prepared for it, but still moved forward.
Well, yeah, there's many companies like that. Even if you look at the lawsuits against talcum powder and Johnson & Johnson. I mean, I remember my younger brother was in some of their videos for bathing and stuff like that when he was born. When they take babies from the hospital and they're like, oh my God, we're going to give you this and this. You get these boxes of stuff, but they should tell you about all the risks that are actually out there too, as well, prior to, putting you in there as like the guinea pig. So I agree. So yeah, when it comes to creative artists that are out there, and there are people who are putting songs out there, and even with the voices that people are making throughout AI, and they're cloning other people's voices that are famous people, and they're creating videos with them, they're creating songs with them, and they're unleashing this into the internet, and it's just crazy. It's like a wild world out there. Anytime you hear that somebody dropped a song, like during the Drake battle with Kendrick Lamar, you never knew what was real or what was fake, ever. Because there's so many people that were putting stuff out there and we're like, what is this? Did he really say that? But he didn't say that. That's a lot of the time. So it's like, how do we actually know what's real or what's not? I mean,
Can I share something?
Yep.
Because when it comes to artists or people that has millions and millions of dollars, it might be easy, even though it might be also really triggering for them, like seeing Taylor Swift image face used with nude. By the way, I think it was that, but it creates for me more disease when it comes to you and me, because now I remember a time 40 years ago or 30 years ago or even 20 years ago was not these EI and even not the popular smartphone, but now we can do that for any child on school, which means that bullying will be amplified, because now you can see make a fake video with a fake voice, that means that your child image and voice could be used with AI to spread anything. So that's really the thing that is scary for me. Not in the sense that it scares me, but it's really for mental health, because then after bullying, then it creates really a situation where the child doesn't see any issue, because it's like this kind of videotapes, where a ransomware. I remember it was in the 90s or 2000s, where you receive an anonymous message like to say, "Oh, we caught you on videotape doing whatever, like crack crack boom, you name it." And then if you don't pay, you will see your sensitive image spread out. With AI and fake videos, they don't even they don't even need to film. They can take your picture, take your voice, and scramble in AI and spread it. And using ransom or not ransom, but creating harm for the child or the adolescent. And that's really something that bugs me deeply, because it's about harming youngsters that are not equipped to deal with these kind of things. For me, if I see myself uh, faked on AI, doing blah 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 blah, it doesn't impact me. But with children and adolescents, they are so sensible about that. Really, and it's really to prevent suicide and to prevent despair. So that's in a way, when you talk about AI and fake videos, fake audios, it's something to say the Pope, to see the Pope or to see Trump in crazy situation, or Biden dancing. It's another thing to see a child that having their pictures and sound spread out like that, and creating harm for this child. That's something that I would like really to tackle, because it really breaks my heart for the person that are involved in this.
I agree, and that's why I really love the initiative. I was bringing it up in a different page, but I love the initiative between Nokia and Mattel with the new Barbie phone. That's going to be a dumb phone. Like there's no internet on it at all. It's just going to be about phone service, because I think that the kids are not mentally capable to handle all of that. They're not able to decipher what's real or what's fake, but it could really hurt them. And then you look at the rates of suicide within children now based upon the bullying and the teasing and all this stuff that occurs in school. Yep. So I think that's where we really need to get to. And we need to have stricter rules. We understand that parents want their children to know where they're at and to give them their technology. And I understand that schools want you to keep your phones locked up, but maybe it's just having them get a watch that has no functionality or something that has nothing, that they could track them and press a button, but keeping their phones should be locked up. I don't think that they should have to deal with that harassment where kids could have a argument with someone during one class, go into the bathroom, send out a really bad message to all of their classmates, and they can just Dropbox it to everybody at the same time and have such a bad impact, or put it on Twitter or do something. I think there needs to be more safeguards towards children.
I want to say, to jump in on this, Angelina was 8 years old when I needed to get her a cell phone out of necessity. And can I tell you how hard I searched for a phone? No internet, no nothing, just a phone. And do you know, when I found it, to purchase the phone was hundreds more. And to put it onto the service contract at that time cost more than a smartphone. It was like, I was just blown away.
Yeah.
There is no senior phones. Even my dad has a no screen, just yeah.
It was like something boo, something. Yeah, I remember there's another one that was out there for the adults to have that just was a basic flip one. I remember even with my son, like when he was like 5 or 6, I got him his first. He had a laptop like I'm using now with a card so I can talk to him. But when he was 9, I got him a phone, but it was just one of the cheapest phone that I could find, just in case he broke it. He broke it, and then a year or so later, he proved that he could make it work, and we kept getting him iPhones ever since. But yeah, it's just trying to keep them safe and making sure they're not going to use up all the data and go everywhere. Like when my son first got it, he didn't realize that data costs money, and he ate up all of our rollover minutes within a weekend. Like he was literally on that having a good old time. And I was like, okay, no more data for you for a week or two. Let's figure this out. Let's get you tied on. It's scary.
Yeah,
It's like, go ahead. Sorry.
Angelina doesn't believe me that we used to have to pay per text message.
Yep. And it's putting up those boundaries. If you look at all the lawsuits are against all of these other companies that are out there for that they're giving children mental illness based upon them playing these particular games or making them spend all this money of their parents' money and all this other stuff like Roblox. I don't even know, all these so many different games that are out there that have lawsuits against them right now. Yeah, just
and when we bring back what you just said to like intellectual property, one of the things that really bothers me, and I'm really always looking at too, is that we get these phones, we go into the app store, we agree and download without reading terms and conditions and all these things, right? And one thing I became very conscious of are what's in these terms and conditions that we're agreeing to. But I think where a lot of people don't think is, how often does a parent then turn around and hand their phone to a child? So for me, it's like my daughter and what she's putting into these programs and games and apps, like that's her intellectual property that isn't even matured or developed yet. And how is that going to be gathered and sold as data?
Well, if you look at the patents that were out there for some of the stuff for the AirPods about sending messages into your ear, capturing the data points or just of like what's happening with your brain waves. And there's so much more into technology that's like going on right now, like behind the scenes.
Yeah. And I will add something because I don't want to be paranoid, but I think we can agree that we don't trust 100% no company, especially the big tech, because I remember myself, it was 6 or 8 months ago, there was a bug in the iCloud, and all these pictures that people has deleted came back. So if you cannot trust that when it's deleted, it's truly deleted, and it's deleted in their side, which was not the case, because with this bug, iCloud with Apple, people were having pictures deleted for 1 or 2 years, and this picture came back, unexpected, So it's like, okay, if I'm not sure that when I delete something that it's deleted in their side, where's the trust? So it's really to in that kind of way that you have to really be mindful. Either you are acknowledging that there is no 100% trust possible, or either you are using small companies that you are sure that you can trust them at 100%, which is not the case with the GAFAM, like Google, Apple, Facebook, Meta, Microsoft, whatever, because they are not really trustworthy. So that's my point.
Ali, what if like earlier, Keith asked me, was with the etiquette of it, just to begin with, what would some etiquette be that you would appreciate when it came to your intellectual property?
Well, it's that for me, being aware that I need to be aware where I place my data. But at the same time, my data, even if I use external third-party apps, my data is in my smartphone or my laptop, and then there is no guarantee that my data is at some point transferred to a cloud from Google or for anyone and any other things. So it's to be mindful that if I really want my data to be protected, then I use a device without internet, and I work on that. And I only put on my USB stick, whatever. Or either I use crypt, like I crypt my data. I arrange myself to always put my data crypted. But in a sense, whatever we put on our smartphones or even on our laptop is not 100% trustworthy protected, because if Apple is showing up with a bug picture that you deleted 2 years ago, it means that you cannot really trust these kind of big companies.
I agree. And, I've worked in facilities before where you needed retina scans to get into rooms and a bunch of crazy stuff, right? You need to put your phones in boxes before you even walked in through the building. And, you can't really have that much trust for it. If something is free, it's not really free. So we'll go back to what Cyrus was saying. So definitely with technology, you're getting your email for free for a reason. You're accessing Facebook for free for a reason. There's other ulterior motives that are there. So I'll loop all the way back around to his prior statement that he was saying. And that's going back to what you just said, Oli, that there's reasons why you're getting that, you're getting this storage space for free up to a certain dollar amount, and then finding out that they're training their AI and training their, resources based upon your imagery that you have, which gets into whole other realms too as well. Because what if you have like baby pictures of your children or other stuff too as well that you don't want getting out there? How do you make sure?
That's another valid point that is really raised by also, I think it was Alexandria or Christine Vaughan, that really advocate for parents when they share their children pictures, always blur them or put an emoji so that these pictures are not anywhere in the web, because it's really important to protect our children's privacy. Welcome, Chris. Amazing to see you.
Well, good evening, Keith, Ollie, and Michelle. How you guys are doing today on Super Sunday?
We're good. Thank you for joining.
Doing fine, thank you.
I just had to join because it was been raining like cats and dogs here, like nobody's business. And I think it said, we can let Chris down join. So I was like, okay, I'm going to join. All right, very good. I've been listening into a little bit and everything like that, and I truly love the direction you guys are taking the conversation tonight, especially when it comes to our kids. We as parents got to be very mindful of what we actually share with our kids and themselves. And I kid you not, sometimes our kids are actually smarter than us when it comes to technology. I guarantee you they will find a way to go around to the firewalls. Oh, Mom, I'm not looking at this, when in fact they are, and everything like that. In fact, our local sheriff here where I live, they say when you go into your cell phone place, they say you got to make sure you turn the parental controls on before you leave the store to give them the phone and everything like that. But we really, like I said, got to know what our kids are really looking at. And Rashida, good evening. How you doing this evening?
We muted. You have to unmute yourself. I can unmute. I got you. I did it.
Thank you. I am much better. Thank you. Ups and downs, that such is life, but right now is an up. So I'm loving it. Thank you.
Well, congratulations on the book. And we're glad that you're here with us tonight.
Don't mind me. I'm going through some greenery and getting it washed and dried and put in the fridge. So I'm doing this as I'm here, multitasking. I hope you do not mind, but
you're good.
I must stay healthy. Greenery makes
there
you
you
healthy.
Go. So I truly believe, though, when we share technology with our kids, whether it be a laptop, a cell phone, tablet, whatever, we just got to be very mindful of that. Then also, speaking of maybe the intellectual property, Keith, did you hear the case about a guy that his wife went to a Disney property she ate something that she was allergic with, and within the terms and conditions, through all the fine print and all,
Yep.
next thing you
Yep.
know,
He
you
cannot
can't
sue
sue him
because it has
because
to
of
go
all
into
that.
mediation because he had Disney Plus. Yeah.
I mean, isn't that
Like
wild?
That is so screwed up because it's the fine print that you don't even think that's in there just because he had Disney Plus or whatever it was that they cannot sue the property because it says it has to go into mediation.
That's crazy.
Like crazy.
Now let me ask you that on an intellectual property kind of dynamic, Keith. Is that something that you would actually put in there, or is that something you would actually say maybe this is something that has to go from case by case? How would you play that out?
I mean, I think that's pretty grimy. I think that's pretty. I mean, the lawyers are smart. The lawyers need a raise, but I think overall, like, you know, it's some backhanded stuff that goes into a lot of the community groups that are out there throughout the world, or organizations or agencies. They put that fine print in there to protect themselves against the unknown. So it's kudos to them, but it's bad for the actual people that had to deal with it and are not going to be able to get the compensation they deserve.
And that's why I really don't like the intellectual property dynamics and a lot of this stuff. For me, and I want all of you to really chime in on, could we make our intellectual property kind of dynamics very simple to understand? It's literally in one page, that's it, and that's it. I mean, could we do that?
Are you asking like
Everybody.
Realistically or theoretically?
Well, yeah.
Like realistically for myself, it's not to be rude, but it's gonna be one of those. No, it won't be one page. I'm gonna probably end up handing like a 20-page document, but it's mainly based on experiences and learning what I need and want to protect, one, but number two, just to kind of like backtrack a little bit. What you were saying about that guy, like having a Disney Plus subscription and the lawsuit and everything. I feel bad for their situation that happened, but I myself have experienced things that it's me almost sitting back like, you should have read the terms and conditions. And I think that as a human and as an individual, we kind of, I don't know what I can say we do, but I know that because of my experiences, I no longer download nor accept a single thing until I've read the terms and conditions. So at what point do we accept accountability and responsibility for that being our responsibility to agree to their terms and conditions?
Okay, I get that. Keith, what say you?
Keith is no longer with us. Rashida, what do you think?
Said I know your voice. I know that's you. What I think is my mom actually had an experience like this from Arby's fast food chain. I forgot what she ordered, but something in whatever she ate gave her an allergic reaction. She couldn't breathe. She was like, "Oh my God, I have to go to the ER." And she tried to call up there, have one of my sisters call up there, people like, "My mom just ordered such and such and such, and she don't know what was in it, but she can't breathe now. Like she's literally like." And they wouldn't tell her. I'm like, if my mom dies, God forbid, because something you put in there and she don't know what that is, we're gonna sue you for everything you got. Like, this is not fun. But they didn't care. They're just like, we're not telling you that's proprietary information. But for proprietary information, yeah, I understand. But if it's life and death, there's got to be some kind of loophole for the exception of human life.
I mean, we're never going to find out how Kennedy Fried Chicken is made. We're never going to know that secret recipe.
Well,
nope.
That's sad. It's even it's going far from the intellectual property, but it's their juice, it's their sauce, it's their secret formula. But in that secret formula, they can put anything they want. Like I heard the term fragrance. There is a documentary, and it says that in any products, if you are seeing in the label fragrance, or Sevo or whatever, run fast and don't buy this, because in the term fragrance could have 20, 50 different chemicals, and you don't know what it is. And so it's really triggering, because even you cannot trust the labels, even if they are going to put on the labels, because in Belgium there are Czech company that is called AFSCA, that is checking the sanity of all the product. And how many times I hear, oh, this product is removed from the supermarket because it contains blah 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 that was not in the label. So that's crazy. I think with that we can have a 3 or 4 hour sessions just about that, because the food industry is really crazy, and the cosmetic industry also. So that's it.
I think what I want to add is, so like in the United States, when a restaurant owns more than 20 restaurants, they legally have to display like calories, all of that, intake information. But I know that through the FDA, regardless, like a restaurant, a fast food chain, nothing, they don't have to disclose like ingredients, secret things like that, but they are legally required to disclose the information when it ties to allergies that could be related to the major issues. So like if you fried your mom's chicken in oil that was fried in fish, they legally have to disclose that, if that makes sense.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The other one is like, oh, this may be near something that was produced in a facility that has tree nuts or some other nuts or shellfish or whatever. You'll see that on the back of some packaging. They should put a sign up front by the register where you place your order. By the way, you may be exposed to blah, blah, blah,
They're
blah,
legally
blah, blah.
required to.
Yeah.
If they do where cross contamination could happen, or there are like those like the allergens that are FDA required, that's milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, and soybeans. If they have any one of those ingredients within the restaurant, they are legally required to display it.
Well,
That is true.
Great conversation on food. I'm happy. I'm gonna go out and eat there. I'm gonna go look for some signs and take some pictures. So we're gonna
Noni would love us right now.
We're gonna loop this back into the conversation because we're already 3 minutes over the initial time. So now we're going into rapid fire hour over here. So I'm gonna have 4 different questions that we're going to ask our audience members. So I guess all they had to go. So what are the different types of intellectual property, and why is it important to understand the distinctions between them? Who would like to answer this question?
I don't know if I have all the definitions, but I can give it a shot.
Go for it.
Intellectual, you think something that you came up with in your mind. It's some creative thing. And that could be something you wrote, something you spoke, acted, various different art creative outlet forms. It could be an invention, it could be a product, it could be a service, many various types. And why is it important to understand those distinctions? Because you might not realize, as an artist, for example, oh, this is just something I love to do. I could make money off of it, or it could just be a hobby, but I'll never know if I don't protect it, because someone else could steal it and they'll make the money I would have made. You don't know. You have to copyright, you have to patent it, all these protections for yourself, for your company, and for the product or service or whatever you've created. Because trust me, people steal it in a heartbeat without hesitation. They don't care. They just want moolah.
I get that. I mean, all day long, people are looking for fast ways about making money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on 1 second.
Do you know what the 4
So we're gonna
categories are?
Excuse me?
Oh, I asked Chris if he knew what the 4 categories were.
Well, I know there's going to be some in the realm of technology. So technology will have a space. There will be corporate intellectual property. There will actually be like what Rashida was saying. It was like there's an artist kind of dynamic that's there and everything like that. But I think the universal one is one she kind of said about that if someone thinks of something, they got to be able to not only, number one, copyright it and trademark it, but also make sure that, and this is what I've heard too as well, if anything that you do as far as a copyright or an intellectual property kind of dynamics concerned, they say to email yourself with whatever logo or saying or whatever that is in and of itself, so that could be there, even doing it in social media too as well, so that kind of safeguards you from that kind of thing and everything. But I'm sure that it's more than just those things I named. Yep. But because there's so much done from a not only U.S. based law kind of dynamic, but also international brand law too as well.
So I'm going to put up on the screen. Thank you, Chris, so much. So I'm going to put up on the screen some of the breakdowns that we have. So we have patents. Rashida, would you be able to read this one that's up on the screen?
Sure.
I don't know.
Patents.
So these, I don't mean to interrupt real quick. So, but before, just so everybody knows, like what you're about to read, these are the 4 categories of intellectual property. So everything you said, Chris, it'll fall under one of these 4 categories. Okay, sorry, Rashida, go ahead.
Okay. We might not even realize it. Just like the common person has no clue that they have to do this to protect themselves. So these are going to help people. Patents protect inventions or discoveries that are new, useful, and non-obvious. They give the patent holder exclusive rights to use and sell the invention for a limited period, usually 20 years.
Okay.
Trademark.
Yep.
You want to keep going or somebody else?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. I mean, more power to thank you.
You're welcome. Protect brand identifiers like logos, names, slogans, and symbols that distinguish goods or services. Trademarks help consumers identify the source of products and maintain brand integrity. Copyrights, which I think is the most common, most people know about. Protect original works of authorship such as literature, writing, stuff like that, music, and art. Copyrights grant the creator exclusive rights to reproduce, distribute, perform, and display their work, typically.
And here's the final one.
Trade secrets. Protect confidential business information that provides a competitive edge, such as formulas, practice, or designs. Unlike other IP types, trade secrets are protected through confidant.
Thank you so much. So that was the first question. We're going to go run into the second question right now. I love this program. Now we can actually get this together. Okay. So can you share some real-world examples where intellectual property played a critical role in a company's success or failure? Does anyone have any ideas about anything they may have heard about intellectual property?
I can name you one right now. You kind of mentioned this a second ago, Keith. In fact, I actually lived there for over a year. Kentucky Fried Chicken was the home in Louisville, Kentucky. And in fact, kid you not, true story, one of my family friends knew Colonel Sanders, and his first store was literally off Racetrack Road in Louisville. But his thing was that he wanted to do the brand of Kentucky and everything. So he did that, and it started in that one store. And I believe that if the story goes, you guys can Google it and fact check me on that. Within probably, I want to say 10, 15 years, there were over 100 stores and less than that time. But wow. Kentucky Fried is a big name brand that just came literally out of nothing, started as one store. And I'm sure there's many others, but that just came to mind because you mentioned it earlier.
Yeah. So what I was going to bring up,
I was going to say the most known one would probably be Apple with the iPhone.
Yep.
Microsoft,
like
Windows computers.
They came in and they were dead set again. Like that BlackBerry, they used that intellectual property to the fullest.
I'm thinking, what about Amazon? Because it seems like maybe they were like one of the leaders, or eBay or stuff like that, before you had all these other Shopify, Etsy, you name it, other e-commerces.
There's you put Apple up there. Great minds, I'm telling you. I don't know about. I don't like. Do you really think that Amazon was pure original intellectual property, though?
I don't know. I'm just wondering. I'm curious.
That's what I'm asking.
Well, I can answer you that to a certain degree because I used to work at Amazon. Jeff Bezos started it in his garage, and it was called Amazon Books, and that's how it started. So originally it was Amazon Bookstore is what it really was. He sold books through his garage, and that's how it became really big. So he went into other things, but he started in his garage.
Interesting.
So on the screen right now, we have the example that Michelle was talking about Apple. And that's, again, intellectual property has played a pivotal role in many companies' success and failures. A famous success story is Apple's use of patents and trademarks to protect its innovative products and brand identity. On the other hand, a cautionary tale is the case of the BlackBerry. While the BlackBerry was an earlier leader on the smartphone market, its failure to adapt and innovate the technology and protect its IP, allowed other people that were out there to surpass it. So
is that how they had like Palm Pilots and all these other replicas, basically with different brand names?
Yeah, they just, they could have, if they really just innovated. Like I remember everybody wanted the BlackBerry. I used to have one for work. I mean, just like Nextel.
BlackBerry is a great product. It was.
Nextel. I remember when I used to do bail bonding, when I was doing all that work, that was the coolest thing that we could have did, is to have a clear case and have the antennas, the light up antennas, and all this fun stuff that we had. And it's like, these new phones you have, all you're putting is cases on it. They're kind of boring, but the light up stuff was really cool. Like people would redo the circuitry inside of the phones of the Nextel themselves and chirp, chirp, chirp. And I know the watches, which I don't even have on right now, I don't even know why I'm doing that, but the Apple Watches, they have that technology where you could actually do walkie-talkie, but I've only used it once since I've owned it. It has that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you could actually download it, but it's kind of annoying. I mean, like, it was good at the time, but now they have other radios that you could purchase for a couple $100 that you could talk to each other for, like, I think it's up to like 2,500 miles away, the same technology as the Nextel.
Wow.
It's just a one-time price. So a lot of the businesses are buying that right now. But yeah, these are just great examples. And again, I just wanted to bring it back in. It was great to talk about the many restaurants and all the other stuff that's going on out there. But just wanted to make sure we ended this with just getting back into the core topic and to leave some nuggets out there for everyone too as well. So who would like to read this one?
I would take a snap at it. What are the most common misconceptions about intellectual property, and how can businesses or creators avoid these pitfalls? That's going to be a good one because we just kind of named one of them already, which was BlackBerry. And yes, that was a big thing, because for me, the BB logo was really great, but the product, the way it was, didn't really take hold. I think it didn't kind of balance out, and that's probably what kind of was the downfall for BlackBerry.
Yeah, and I'm just going to add in this too.
Ask a question.
Sure.
What about these contractors where, like, you see natural disasters and stuff and people's houses get ruined, their businesses get ruined, blah, 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 blah. What about if they have a certain, I guess, design style? Oh, this apartment's going to look like this. Can that be protected?
So after, could you a little bit more context in terms of,
like, for example, if heaven forbid your home or apartment or whatever or business was totally ruined and like you had to have someone redo the wallpaper, the tiling, and it had like a design motif, like for example in the shower.
Okay.
the tile had a certain little design, like a mosaic or whatever.
Potentially, but I think a lot of it is just like people like they copy it. They, like there's designs, like there's something in Sacramento right now which actually just failed. There was a building that's been empty for like 15 or 20 years it was one of the few buildings that was designed fully by an artist. So it had specific things on it that they wanted to keep for the future. The historic field was trying to say, yes, we need this. So, but the judge said, no, this does not meet the qualifications. However, we want for you to save some of those panels and some of those pieces and to keep them, but you can destruct the rest of the building to build something. So we will have someone in there and it won't be vacant. So there could be something. And again, that's not my subject matter expertise, so I wouldn't be able to answer that properly for you. But I'm sure there's uses of materials, or if someone's creating something specific. I mean, they name designs after people, right? They name patterns after people. So it could be something like that, where it could be like a naming convention, but I'm not sure. It's almost like a recipe at a restaurant, right? So it's like, who created the Philadelphia roll? I mean, no one's making money every single time they make a Philadelphia roll for sushi, or like for, there's always going to be that one name of something.
Well, I got a question for you, Keith, and this is something you probably can gnaw on until next Sunday. What about this? What if someone, let's take BlackBerry, for example. The IP recognition is there. How can someone take BlackBerry's IP and then bring it back to life? Same thing, let's say, in context with HTC. HTC was in the same kind of boat as with BlackBerry. How would that work, and how would that play out, not only from a brand perspective, but an IP perspective?
They would have to get approval to be able to license this or utilize it. So it wouldn't be something they could just go out and do it. They would have to talk to their legal folk and then come up with an agreement to say what they were going to give them for utilizing it. They'd have to pay the piper. So nothing would be done for free. But yeah, they could make an agreement with them.
So a little more specific with the the iPhone with that BlackBerry thing. So one thing that they did with the iPhone before they even started like diving into the actual iPhone itself was they mastered Verizon's satellites and networks. And that's where they found that their intellectual property was the success. It was not creating the phone. It was what they was able to do with the cell towers and things acting as servers.
Just putting up some additional information here. Again, it's like we need to also actively monitor the trademarks, and there's services that'll do that for you. And it's going to search the internet for people that are utilizing particular search terms that have to do with your trademark itself. So it's not something that's just always going to happen by itself unless you're paying for it. The other thing is, if you see like all these new different types of domain names that are out there, that people could purchase them and you could fight them to try to get ownership of it. But if they're spending all this money, it could go into the case of Nissan, where Nissan is a family name and Nissan does not own Nissan. The automobile company does not own Nissan.com.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Also, it's really important when it comes to like with the intellectual property. It's also important to be like taking somebody's idea and then giving them credit. It's really important to remember, though, that just like acknowledging them sometimes isn't enough. And the example is with you and I, Keith. Like, that waiver says we need it in writing. So if that permission wasn't given in writing and you still are like, hey, we was listening to Flip the Script and that's where this idea came from, that is not legally acceptable.
Yeah, but we don't want to have to get lawyers involved, do we? Seriously?
Listen, I'm not saying, I was giving them the example. Like, don't just think that taking something from somebody and verbally giving them credit is, like sometimes that's not enough. I'm not saying for us. I was giving the example.
No, I understand. I'm joking too as well. But again, if it comes to something where there's actually like some program that's out there that's going to make millions, or if it's just a conversation. If it's just a conversation, if somebody else wants to feel that they want to go say, hey, I did this, and they don't want to give us credit, well, go on, have an amazing day. It's quick, it's a couple less people for us to actually have to deal about with all the millions of people. It'll just be one less to focus our energy on. So
Right.
Go ahead and enjoy that, but just remember, you won't be a part of any future conversations where we can't trust you. So it's easy to lose trust like that. Again, like there's so many. Think about all the conversations, Chris, that you've had since 2017 with bringing humanity together, and how many times that you've spoken about ideas, or other people have come up with ideas during those meetings. And think about it, if everyone that was on there, if they decided to take those ideas for themselves, where we would be at.
Yep.
It's a crazy world to actually even think about that. And I know it's happened at times, but it's also happened where there's been some great collaborative efforts that have happened, like with Jesse, with Sharon, with Michelle, with
Anya and Diane.
Well, I'm just talking about with Thrive, how that actually came out of conversations that occurred from BHT. So that's things like that, amazing things like that happen. But they did the smart thing, is that they wanted to break that off so they can actually deal with it without having to worry about all the other nonsense that goes into it with other people that are they're taking, instead of being collaborative, it becomes competition, right? So there's things that we do have to do to protect ourselves. And, we need to really gauge our audience. Like who are the people in our audience? If everyone's at the same level, if everybody's doing well, if everyone is not struggling to pay their bills, and they're happy with their life, I mean, most likely you're going to have a better chance of somebody not stealing. But when it comes to the opposite, where people are struggling and they're trying to figure themselves out, they may just be like, this could be the ticket. We're going. Let's go.
Yeah.
So it's just like a store with security cameras or without security cameras in a bad area. So it's like, take your risk. I mean, it's just buyer beware. See what actually happens. See how it works out for you.
I personally have a different opinion about that.
Uh-oh. Let's go for your
just a slight variation, if I may.
Sure. Okay.
I come from the old school of, if I want to know something, a skill, a trait, a service, product, I just come to you and I ask you, how'd you do that? Are you willing to teach me? Takes 2 seconds. I don't have to rip you off.
Yep.
Just get educated.
I agree. I come to people that say, if I don't understand something, I'll be the first person out there online waiting to get help, or asking someone to join a call because I don't understand it. Like, even in my old role, I had people that came on from Humans First to go help because I didn't understand the background. I wouldn't have been able to start the Wellness Corner and do all that stuff. I brought on people from like Quinn or Kevin or Melissa, or like brought all these people on there because they knew more than I did, and they were able to properly speak on these topics. And it wasn't me trying to take the credit. It was really trying to collaborate. But I think that, Rashida, it's different because you're willing to come across collaboratively, but there's other people that are going to, they're going to act as if they're collaborating, but they're really in competition. So they're taking advantage of somebody's like kindness, right? Of letting them in.
And that will be another thing that we definitely should talk about, is when a collaboration happens, that you have a great idea and you guys have that shared idea with it. Do you actually not only run with that shared idea, but you actually, from a legal perspective and an IP perspective, say, hey, we jot everything down, dot our I's, cross our T's and everything, and make it legally binding? Because some people, like you said, Keith, just a second ago, some people like to say, hey, I want to take it from this group, offshoot it and keep it separate because they don't want to go through the hassle and all this other stuff. But then there are some people who truly want to move that forward. So how do they do it from that next level step? I'm saying, from a great idea, do we take it to the realm of legal and protection and IP and all those kind of things? And that's another thing we should really be mindful of, is when it goes from the collaborative stage to that really, how do I protect it stage? Because it's almost like kind of like your baby, so to speak. And how do you protect that? And that's a great thing to really take care of, because again, someone can do something really mischievous. And I kid you not, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't think industrial espionage is not real, it is real.
Oh, it's real.
Yes. They will take anything that they can get an edge on. It's there.
So years ago when I had my security business, when I was I used to do surveillance and counter surveillance for Fortune 500 CEOs and other companies too as well. And they were so scared about that. They would have me scan their boardrooms, and I'd go in there with my device and I would scan around and with my RF detectors, and I would do counter surveillance on them at least once a month. And I would follow them from the time they woke up to the time they went home. They would pay us for all of that. We would put a tracker on their vehicle and really just get into it to see what was going on. We'd scan their beach houses, the boardrooms. We had some people that were working that had us put, we put cameras, they were called PIR cameras, into the motion sensors. And so they could, it's just crazy. Like you couldn't even imagine the stuff that we did. And, it was because of that. They were afraid. And some of the top technology companies were the ones that wanted us there to like let us know exactly where these cameras would go. And even during those meetings, we couldn't even stop at the area. We had to walk through the area. Then there would be a message that would come across, or an ear thing that would say that is where it would go. Don't look up, right there. And so like it was just the craziest thing I could actually even imagine.
I never knew that.
But yeah, but that happens. I mean, it's like that corporate espionage stuff is funny. And then you think about it, these organizations and corporations that are out there that are like, they just pretend like all this stuff doesn't exist. They hear negative things are occurring, and they think that since they've been in business for so long that they're protected against any of this other stuff that could occur. But just know that, if organizations are willing to grow, if they're willing to adapt, they're going to reduce any of this attrition ratio that they have, because they're going to learn and grow, and they're going to be able to build this new technology. There's no reason why these new companies should be out there creating all this stuff when these companies that have been in these fields are still doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's because they're afraid of actually moving forward outside of their comfort zone. Yeah. But I think when it comes to IP, most of that stuff has derived from somewhere, right? Just even like, AI, it's coming from somewhere. It's not like it's just imaginary, right?
Right.
So it's like we all just need to, value the people that we have working with us, so that way we can keep all of that IP internally, in-house.
Yeah, and that goes straight to that next topic you put on there. For example, trademark holders must actively monitor and enforce their trademarks to prevent dilution or infringement, while patent holders need to be aware of an expiration date and renewal requirements. And that's a big thing, especially when it comes to industrial espionage. People will say, hey, can we take this before it expires, or we take it, or whatever. And that's a big thing, because, again, if you don't take care of that, someone's going to snatch it, and then they say, oh, time's up. It's mine now.
And, you can think about, look at not Puff Daddy, look at Jay-Z. Jay-Z, there's Dame Dash has to go sell his rights that he had from their Rockefeller age, day and age. Yeah. But it's going to be available back to him in 4 years. So he's like, go spend whatever you want right now, but it's going to become mine again. I think it was 4 years. Don't quote me on that. But so either way, even if they spend $3 or $4 or $5 or $10 million, it's still going to get back all of his money. At that point in time, he'll be able to keep making money. Wow. So there's thresholds that are put in there to keep people safe. So another one is with rapid advancement in technology such as AI and blockchain, how is the landscape of intellectual property evolving, and what should we be prepared for in the future?
That's a good one. I'm thinking on that one.
I think the stuff that you create with AI, if it was originally something your own and you're just using it to like enhance it, it should still be yours, because that original one was yours, in my opinion.
I may not be the world's foremost connoisseur when it comes to intellectual property and trademarks and everything like this, Keith, but this is my take on that. especially when it comes to the realm of AI and blockchain and everything. When it comes from a CTO perspective, and I wish Greg was here on this, because this is what I'm thinking. If you have someone who's really well versed in the space of AI, blockchain technology, and everything like that, you almost want to keep up with it to such a degree that you actually pre-work the work that you should do before, let's say, that patent runs out, or that trademark runs out, or that open source code finally gets released and everything. So you always want to be maybe 10 steps ahead of the game, so to speak. So that's what I'm thinking of, because especially even when it comes to getting that next product launch done, that you actually don't copyright what, let's say, Amazon did, but you do it in such a way that they can be able to say, hey, this is new and original, but yet the similarities are there, but it ran out because it ran out last week. So you kind of have to play that kind of thinking ahead kind of game. And that's the only way I can think of it. But Greg, I'm sure he would have more into that, but that's the way I would look at it.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
One of the tech companies I used to work for, actually maybe two of them, that exact thing happened with the VPN certificates, and no one could do their job for at least 1.5 days. And then they're like, they figured out that that was the problem, and then they renewed it. So it's like, well, maybe you should have this protection in place for a longer period of time, so you don't have a downtime for your whole business.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have the right people in that role.
Mm-hmm.
And good evening, Grace. Glad to see you here tonight, and Annie too as well.
I think that interesting, like, deep dive intellectual property conversation, like, obviously at another time, would be Disney. I mean, they are seriously freaking out right now because they have patents and trademarks that are all coming to ends, where that what they protected and built their empire on is going to be free game.
Yeah. And I think even what Annie just added, it says it shows that it's hard to prove that someone stole your idea. Many people could have similar ideas, and it's not theft or copying. It is your implementation with patented tools and systems that make any idea yours. Again, unless you've actually gone through all those steps, they may have the same idea, except some people you can figure out there's a pattern with them. But without that being said, who knows if they attended it? If they attended a meeting that you just had, and then later on the same day, all of a sudden they're making a new topic for it. I mean, you could probably call a spade, but but at that point, I mean, then you'll know a little bit more. Hey, Grace. So let me see. So as we wrap up our conversation today, it is important to remember that intellectual property is not just a legal formality. It's a critical asset that can define the future of your business or creative endeavors. I'm going to put up an action item. Let's see how much it'll actually let me keep on the screen. Actually, I'm going to add this into the comments. I'm not sure where it's going to allow me to post it, because I can only post a particular things for. But I'd like to go around the room so we can have some final thoughts from the members that are on the stage.
I had just a slight idea, is that you see these investor shows like Shark Tank and stuff like that, and sometimes the people that come on there, they don't have a unique idea, they just have a modification for something else. If they just file the whatever patent or rights royalties. I don't know what they're called, but that allows them only to modify that improvement part of that product. Then they can't claim rights to everything that came before, only that improvement part of that product. So like it's very important to specify this in the legal fine print. And also I've seen people on, like, let's say YouTube, on the videos that they put up, may not be redistributed, blah, 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 in any format without express written consent from whoever made it.
Right.
So protect yourself.
And the thing about Shark Tank too, as well, when they're going on there, besides all of the percentages they're giving out to other people, they're also giving a percentage to the actual company itself of Shark Tank. So on top of that other percentage, another percentage is going out to Shark Tank itself, the show, to all the collaborative group.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more behind the scenes to that. So if they're going to be accepting that money, that you're giving the house away, but they're making a lot of money, but it's still, there's a lot more that's leaving.
Yeah. And for me tonight, like I said before, when it comes to technology and our kids, please make sure you're giving the right, not only advice and direction to your kids, but make sure that they're not doing something that they shouldn't be doing and stinking around or whatever the case may be and everything. But when it comes to the true IP, whether it be from an idea phase or collaborative phase, legal phase, or whatever that might be, just be in a place of, I don't want to be about competition, but let's make it about collaboration. But if you can't get into that place and space, maybe you just have to recognize, hey, just like what Rashida just touched on, if you have something that you can augment and make it in that place of augmentation, so to speak, then so be it. But everyone has an idea that they can share and everything. So it's, again, about recognizing, how did that idea come to pass, number one, and was it literally spawned out of spontaneity and everything like that? And again, like to what Annie said, that's kind of hard to prove in and of itself. So it's just about recognizing, how do you show up to that? How do you cover yourself, cover your bases and everything like that? So it's just be very mindful, not only from the intention side of it, but also maybe from the legal side, because you don't want someone to undercut you, and then next thing you know, what you shared with them, probably in confidence, the next thing you know gets done, and that's where NDAs come into play and everything in between. So you got to be very, very cautious of the people not only you work with, but also who works with you. So you got to keep your eye on the prize, so to speak. So that's why I look at it for tonight. Great conversation, though.
No, and I agree. It's sad that we do need NDAs, but I've been using them for so many years. And, you know, a lot of the stuff that I did in the past, it was also white label, that it was all under NDAs, that I can't even say anything that I was a part of it. So, and we just have to be able to be cognizant of the people that we are working with and trying to meet them where they're at. And yeah, so we will, Rashida, we're going to go over to you, and then we're going to go to our closing.
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it's just like, not everybody is just open to collaborate, because I know Michelle and I, and Ollie, we're part of that team with Dr. CJ that, you know, don't be competing with everybody else. Don't try to nickel and dime and stab people in the back. Don't do anything negative, okay? If you want to learn something, go have an old-fashioned, old-school conversation with them and be like, hey, I love how you did this and this. Give them kudos and praise for what they did. And ask them, hey, I'd like to learn this. Would you be willing to show me a couple pointers? I did that with Michelle. She's a brilliant genius on like researching and documenting and organizing. I could go on all day, okay? But I asked her, could you teach me a couple of these things? Because I've got no clue how to do this. And you came up with it like, we're cool. I didn't steal anything from her. She didn't steal anything from me. It was like we were partnering together to better each other. And like, I'm sure along the way, there's something that maybe I'm good at that she might not know, and I'll share it with her or share it with someone in her network. Like, it's about coming together, not dividing ourselves. I just got to stress that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Collaboration over competition.
Yep.
Well, thank you both. We're going to remove you if you're going to be removed from the stage, and we're going to close out the show soon. But thank you so much for both of you for being here with us today. by Chris. That's just like so sad. It's like, no, it's like I can't even get there. It's okay. We'll have to do it from this point over here. Oh my God. I can ban you from the studio. I can kick you from. What is happening here? This is. Hold on one second. Of course, the piece is in front of it. But thank you so much for being here with us, Rashida. We appreciate
My
you.
pleasure.
Bye. Oh. Rashida, I got you back up here for a second. Sorry, I took you too quickly. So if you can just wait, I cut you off in a sentence. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just trying to say thank you for having me. You know, it's always a pleasure. And I always sign off, whether it's video or like texting or whatever, is that peace and blessings on everybody. Like that's just how I am. Is I wish peace on everyone, and that's just how I am.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. We appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, this button was sticking. I'm not using my mouse. I'm using the built-in mouse. So how is your internet connection going, Michelle?
I believe I actually figured out the problem. Well, it's not a problem, but I'm almost positive, but you're going to have to let me know. How is this still glitchy, like bad, like it was earlier? We're gonna have to figure it out. I've noted. I think that when we get going, when it's just you and I, and we get going, it's good. But it's when we start adding to the stage and bringing people in the backstage, like that's when I've noticed it glitch.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's work in progress. It's all good.
Yeah, I'm about to go get my large some type of blended coffee from Dutch Brothers so I could let me just make it through the rest of the day. So
you still got some hours, definitely. What do you think
we
of
still
today?
got some, yeah. But you know, this was a great conversation. And again, this is just part of it. We touched on a few areas. Of course, Michelle shared 17 pages on LinkedIn. So if you'd like to receive any of that information, if you haven't, please feel free to message her or message myself, and we will send that out to you with the copies of that information. But also just make sure that you take the time to review what you're doing out there to safeguard yourself. It's not all about having to boast to say you're going to do A, B, and C, but it's about actually getting there. It's about, you know, starting your engine and making it through the race and crossing the finish line. But piece by piece, you're going to get there. And I know at times it feels like you need to pour back into your cup, or you need to increase your followers or recognition or whatever you're trying to do by adding to your narrative, by sharing these pieces of what you're doing. But you just have to really think about the audience of who you're sharing with it, the information, and what type of implications that could have.
True story. Today's been great. I like, for me, it's the awareness, the education, helping people understand. Like that is, for me, the success of it. It's getting that information out there, making sure they know where to get it from.
Yeah, and that it's not, all this information you're hearing, if you're logging on to any of these shows, like even if you're restreaming something, which you have to understand that I think it was Aiden Ross or one of the people that's out there, that's a streamer, that he's like, I wasn't even doing stuff last month. Why is my bill so much money this month for streaming? It's because you have to pay. You have to pay people for utilizing their information. Like even if you're streaming songs, like radios are paying money to the artists, right? Everyone has to do this. It's a part of the game, right? The game of life, of business. So just make sure that, when you're going out there into this world and you're creating something new, that you're also looking out for your colleagues that have something going on, or other people in this world that may have had other creative works, that you're giving credit to where credit is due. That's what I would like to leave everybody with. Again, we do encourage you to take a moment this week to review your intellectual property portfolio, whether it's a brand trademark, a new invention, or creative work. Ensure that your IP is properly protected. If you don't have an IP strategy in place, now is the fresh time to start. go, go, go. So reach out to a legal professional or an IP expert to discuss how you could safeguard your innovations and ideas. Taking this step now will not only protect your hard work, but it'll also position you for long-term success. So again, take the time. You don't want to think back at this moment years from now and saying, what if I did this, or what if I did that? Just take the time and just slow down a little bit. Life is a marathon. It's not a race, right? It's not a sprint.
They understand the differences between like a copyright, a trademark, and a patent, because they're not the same thing, but you need all three things. Like, is that just educate yourself, but spend the time educating yourself with the right resources.
I agree. Just, you can have that circle of people that are going to be around you that are going to help you out with whatever you're going through. You can commiserate, you can deal with whatever you're dealing with, but that's only going to lead to codependency. For you to step outside of that realm, for you to work on your professional self, your personal self, you're going to have to expand your circle, and you're going to have to make sure that those are people in your circle that you can trust, that you can be vulnerable with, and that you can learn and grow with. So keep learning and growing every day. And we're looking forward to seeing you on a show real soon for I Can Flip the Script. My name is Keith.
I'm Michelle.
And we are I Can Flip the
Script.
Yeah, we did. All right, everyone. We're going to work on our technology. Every single day is a work in process, and we're trying to get some videos out there too. So if you have any type of videos or you'd like to advertise with us when we put on our shows, we plan on streaming them to about 8 different platforms or more, and also on the platforms of the members that are stepping up on the stage. So if you'd like to advertise with us, please reach out to us so we can get your banners in our ticker, or we can have some videos put up for you in the beginning or the end of our show. So
absolutely.
Thanks again for joining us. All right. Bye for now, everyone. We're going to leave you with a video. If I can get to the videos, see, we'll get there at some point. Just want to leave you with some preparedness videos too as well, so we can continue on to help support you and your preparedness needs. Thanks, everyone.
Welcome back to our disaster preparedness series. Today, we're focusing on crucial steps to keep your home and family safe in case of a fire emergency. It's important to test your smoke alarms every month to ensure they're working properly. Just press the test button, and if you don't hear that loud alarm, it's time to replace the batteries or the alarm itself. A functioning smoke alarm is your first line of defense in a fire emergency. Next, let's talk about your fire escape plan. A solid fire escape plan should include at least 2 ways out of every room, a designated meeting spot outside, and clear roles for who will assist children or elderly family members. Make sure everyone in your household is familiar with the plan and practice it regularly to stay prepared. Did you know that smoke alarms don't last forever? After 10 years, it's time to replace them, even if they still seem to be working. Check the date on your smoke alarms and replace them if they're over 10 years old. It's a simple step that can save lives. Taking these steps, testing your smoke alarm.
At Adaptive Strategies Group, our approach to partnerships, whether with government officials, internal teams, or external stakeholders, goes far beyond mere transactions. We're not just here to engage. We're here to rebuild relationships, remove barriers, and create pathways to success. By working across all levels of your organization, we align internal teams and external partners, ensuring everyone is empowered to move forward with a unified vision. We know that real impact requires more than just monitoring activities or providing updates. It's about fostering collaboration, driving engagement, and building lasting connections that propel your mission forward. With Adaptive Strategies Group, you can say goodbye to the stories of the past and embrace a future built on action. Contact us today to start building relationships that last and strategies that deliver real results. Learn more by visiting askasg.org.
Welcome back to our disaster preparedness series. Today, we're focusing on crucial steps to keep your home and family safe in case of a fire emergency. It's important to test your smoke alarms every month to ensure they're working properly. Just press the test button, and if you don't hear that loud alarm, it's time to replace the batteries or the alarm itself. A functioning smoke alarm is your first line of defense in a fire emergency. Next, let's talk about your fire escape plan. A solid fire escape plan should include at least 2 ways out of every room, a designated meeting spot outside, and clear roles for who will assist children or elderly family members. Make sure everyone in your household is familiar with the plan and practice it regularly to stay prepared. Did you know that smoke alarms don't last forever? After 10 years, it's time to replace them, even if they still seem to be working. Check the date on your smoke alarms and replace them if they're over 10 years old. It's a simple step that can save lives. Taking these steps, testing your smoke alarms monthly, reviewing your fire escape plan, and replacing alarms every 10 years can make all the difference in a fire emergency. Connect with us at Adaptive Strategies Group for more resources and tips. Visit our website at askasg.org and follow us for updates. Together, we can build a safer future.
Resilience isn't built with just one big event or a yearly activity. It's created through ongoing transformative work done together. When it comes to community preparedness in schools, collaboration with the County Board of Education ensures that all programs are inclusive and equitable. The goal isn't to seek recognition, but to truly serve the community. Just as a personalized approach benefits clients in need, we must tailor our preparedness activities to meet the unique needs of every student and family. This kind of work requires consistent collaborative action that brings real change. Let's focus on what truly matters: the people we serve, putting aside brands and logos. By coming together, sharing resources, and aligning our goals, we can create programs that genuinely enhance resilience. To learn more about creating effective and inclusive community resilience programs, check out askasg.com.
In a world full of noise and endless expectations, it's easy to forget something crucial. You are special. It's not about being perfect, but about being true to who you are, embracing your journey, and celebrating your individual strengths. Each challenge you face and each success you achieve adds to your story, making you extraordinary. Remember, it's the small moments of kindness and the passion you put into your dreams that truly define your greatness. Take a moment today to appreciate your unique light, because you have a special place in this world. So embrace who you are, celebrate your journey, and let your light shine brightly, for you are truly remarkable. Ever feel like you're just not connecting with the world? We get it. Our messages might not always resonate with everyone, but we're here to reach those who need it most. Sometimes a single message can spark change, ignite hope, or even save a life. If today's post doesn't hit home for you, don't worry. We're committed to finding the right words that will connect with you in the future. Our goal is to inspire, support, and offer hope. Remember, your journey and connection matter. We're in this together, finding light in every corner.